Now that you've got a few chords memorized, hopefully 5, or you're on the way to memorizing 5, we need to talk about techniques for practicing switching between chords, which is really the essence of playing songs on the guitar. Let's start with the A chord. First, you want to memorize it. You need to have the name memorized, where the fingers go, and of course, how many strings to strum. For the A, you're going to strum 5 strings because there is an X over the 6th string in your chart on page 47. So those are the 3 things to memorize for every chord. Next, you want to be able to, this may seem strange, but this is a really great technique for being able to switch chords quickly from one to another eventually. The first step is to be able to take any chord you know, let's start with the A, lift the fingers off without losing that shape. Now when you first try this, here's your A chord, you may have your fingers, once you lift them off the strings, you're not able to keep that A shape and you have to use the strings to find your way again. We want to avoid having to do that because that's going to slow you down when you're playing actual songs. So one technique that I recommend is that you practice maybe a minute each day or longer of just taking whichever chord, don't even strum it, just with the left hand, lift the fingers off and try to keep that exact shape and then put them back down so that you're basically doing this. Now what you'll find is that you can't at first. They want to lose their shape. What this does is it trains your fingers to stay in the shape above the strings so that then, let's say I come from another chord, D, I've trained my muscles to already go to the A in midair, and then I can simply land on it. This is a really great technique for learning to play your chords, and I'm going to go through this with each of the chords that we've learned just briefly. So take the A, minute or 2 a day, try just lifting off. And one way you're going to do this is to use the knuckles to hold the fingers in shape. If you've ever gotten glue, crazy glue maybe, on your fingers and they're literally stuck together, that's actually what it should feel like. You are using that pressure of the fingers touching each other to keep it in that shape. Okay? So for the A, you can practice simply this. Try to keep them in that exact shape without losing the fingers, without separating them, without drifting over above a different string. You want to be able to do this. They should land all at the same time and lift off all at the same time. Now you can go to the D and do the same thing. Now, for now, you might have to switch, or you might have to use the fingers to find the D. That's okay for now since you're just learning the chord, but what we want to do is train our fingers to be able to just go to that shape all at once. And again, you'll notice that I'm touching each finger together to hold it in that shape. So when I play the D, my fingers are not separated like that. That's much harder to hold that shape. If you are touching each finger at the knuckle, that's going to help you keep it in that shape so that when you lift off, they're in that shape already. You can practice that with the D. And then with the E, same thing. You may need to use your strings now to find the strings in, fingers to find the strings in order, but eventually again, have the fingers touching so that they're pushing against each other to keep it in that shape. And then you're able to, hopefully, lift them off, put them back down, lift them off, put them back down, without losing that shape. Same thing with C and with G, whether you do it 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is a daily technique that you should be doing with each chord. Just a minute or 2, if you can do longer, that's great, but it will pay off great dividends. And so that what you'll be able to do eventually, if I'm strumming the D chord or you're strumming the D chord, then you will have already taught your fingers to go to that A shape off the strings, and then you can just land it. If you were to slow down in slow-mo, a guitar player switching between chords, you'll see that they are landing the next shape in air and then landing on the strings, G. So when I'm switching between G and D, I'm going to make that D shape in the air and then drop down on it. Because if I don't do that, I have to take up valuable time to find my place. We want to not get in that habit from the start, get in the habit of landing all the fingers at once and being able to make each shape off the strings. So this is a great technique that works very well. All right, and then what you can do once you've done that for a few days is take any two chords that you know. Let's start with A to E. And a good way to practice this is to strum 4 times on the A in a nice even rhythm, even tempo, and then switch to the E for 4 strums, then back to the A. So with the A, remember 5 strings. I'm going to use my thumb. Then I'm going to switch to E without pausing between chords. Doesn't matter if it sounds rough or if you're getting buzzes or rattles. The idea is to keep the tempo going, that consistent speed. You could do this more slowly, of course. The idea, though, is to not stop between chords, but to keep an even tempo going, an even speed, and not worry about the sound. It may sound rough. Don't stop and correct until you get a clear sound. That will cause you to be in the habit of slowing down. We want to just barrel through, even if it sounds like this. Sure, it's rattly. Doesn't sound clear, but that's okay. I'm just jumping to that next shape. The clarity, that's all right. The clarity will come with time until you're able to switch cleanly. Practice those chords every day.